Well, it wasn't a very happy Valentine's Day for the hosts of The View, as they had no love for former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who announced her 2024 presidential run yesterday. Sunny Hoston called Haley a chameleon. Let's watch.
But, you know, as governor, they keep on saying her defining moment was signing legislation removing the Confederate flag from the state capitol. She only did that after the massacre that happened at the Emmanuel Church that I actually covered and spoke to those family members. She only did that. And then let's remember that after Trump came, by 2019, she was defending the Confederate flag. She said that the Charleston church shooter had hijacked the Confederate flag. No, ma'am, the Confederate flag had always been hijacked. And then she said that people saw it as service, sacrifice, and heritage. I see it as heresy as a person of color in this country. And so when she wants to say the right thing, I think she's very much a political grifter and a chameleon. And the bar is very low because it's on the ground. Yeah. But I don't
it's below the ground.
It's below the ground. I don't see her as a step up from anything.
Okay, I think it was not super smart to like laser focused on something Nikki Haley did that was, I think it was a good thing, and did fine. It was, she waited for the right moment to do it, but it still took some political courage to do it, and that is something, you know, you don't have to fall all over yourself praising Nikki Haley or something. She doesn't have to be your candidate because of that, but that was a good thing, and she just deserves credit for doing it. Like the host of The View, I also think Nikki Haley is somewhat of a chameleon, and has had it, especially in her views of President Trump or her thinking on how fit Donald Trump is to be the president. She's had to, you know, that's a reality that a lot of Republicans who do not love Donald Trump have had to navigate, because being anti-Donald Trump puts you on a very, very specific road that culminates in having no future in the Republican Party and just being
a track to MSNBC, baby.
It's the track to MSNBC, exactly. The road for, you know, then there's the roads the DeSantis type people are on, which is never say anything critical of Trump, be all about what Trump has done, even though, as you can tell, as it comes out of his being, that doesn't like him as a human being, but is not going to say that.
Yeah, I agree that it's odd to open that criticism with the good thing that she did, but I also appreciate, you know, she's trying to make the case that she's a grifter by contrasting her alleged support of taking down the Confederate flag, the perceived understanding of why she should take down the Confederate flag, why in the wake of a racially motivated mass shooting that you don't want this symbol of the Civil War and the losing side in the South and slavery and all of that presiding over your house of government. And so then to try to get points for that and to have credit for that, and then turn around and say that she understands that it's not really a symbol of hate, that people who adopt it as a symbol of hate are hijacking it, but that's not intrinsic to the meaning of the flag. I mean, it kind of ignores what symbolism really is. It ignores the fact that everybody projects their own meaning onto all of these symbols, but the predominant projection for most Americans, I don't say most Americans, but a lot of Americans onto the Confederate flag is exactly that kind of sinister racism that caused Nikki Haley to want to take it down in the wake of this racially motivated attack in the first instance.
Sunny was very oddly, they're trying to, like, Sunny didn't take down the flag from anywhere. It was just,
right. Sunny
talking about
herself into it is
her
weird.
own intervention there.
I reported on it. I talked to those people. Well, Sunny, like, your argument is being undermined by you trying to also steal valor off of this incident. But both you and Nikki Haley are trying to steal valor off of this incident. You know, I frankly agree with the overarching point that Nikki Haley is a chameleon and that she is having a hard time finding her place in this Republican ecosystem. She strikes me as someone who frankly knows better, which makes it, I think, all the more disappointing, and it's part of why the View hosts are so bristled when she walks back the things that she's done that are right, or she seems to be bending principles that I think she kind of does understand in order to appeal to a more Trumpist segment of the party. And it's hard to watch. It's easier to watch someone who seems to be genuinely craven and believe the dreck that's coming out of their mouths than someone like Nikki Haley, who seems frankly like a reasonable, normal person who's trying to make it in a conservative ecosystem that's not that's very divided about whether it wants to be normal
and
or
that
not.
is going to reject her for unless she, again, because that road is very...
But they're going to reject her either way. That's almost what makes the bending of the knee that much more depressing. Like, what's the point? You're going to sell out to things that maybe you don't even believe in and lose anyway? You know, is it really the case that the Republican Party is such that there's no space for someone who, you know, stands by the decision to take down a Republican flag in the wake of a racially motivated mass killing? Is that really where we are?
I mean, I don't know that people who don't like her, that's the reason they don't like her. She has, to the extent she has discernible policy views she should be identified with, she is very hawkish. She's very neoconservative. Her views align with the version of the Republican Party in the aughts, and that is clearly not popular with the base. So
sure.
I don't think,
but I
don't know that if people are saying, oh, I hated that she took down the Confederate flag, I won't vote for that. I mean, maybe there are some people.
Obviously, at some point in time, she felt like she needed to recharacterize her feelings about the American flag to make it palatable to somebody. So she obviously perceives that
the Confederate flag.
What did I say?
The American.
Sorry, the Confederate flag. She obviously believes that some quantity of Americans needed her to say something affirming about the value of the American flag despite her
Confederate flag.
Sorry, Confederate flag, despite her previous
I think many American voters need you to say something edifying about the American flag.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
Drag that out of you. But
you know, you can't brush that away. If in that interview she had just said, look, I am sensitive to the fact, I'm in South Carolina. It's a state with one of the largest black populations. I understand that some Americans see this Confederate flag as simply a matter of tradition, et cetera, but many others see it as a symbol of a civil war in which more American lives were lost than any other war.
That's exactly what she said.
What do you mean?
Isn't that what she said?
No, she went on to say that it's just a symbol of,
I think she was mollifying critics. I say some people just kind of associate this with, pride in their state,
going as far as to say that the real meaning of it, when she says that the people who appropriated it or whatever, who took, who stole it to go and kill black people aren't like that's not the true meaning of the flag. She's making a value judgment about whose version of the flag is more right than the other person.
And she's saying the not evil version is the right version.
For many people in the country, the idea of taking a flag that to them represents the subjugation, enslavement of black people and using it to go and kill black people is completely consistent with the vibe of the flag. And what Nikki Haley is saying is no, it is wrong to have that belief. People who actually use this flag as a symbol of hate are not respecting the real meaning of the flag and then affirming what she believes is the real meaning of the flag, which is something non-hateful. So in that subsequent statement, she is picking a side and decided to say that the Confederate flag is not intrinsically hateful. Now, she could have said, many minds disagree, but the reason I took it down was because there are enough people in my district that see it as a symbol of hate. It's not actually the American flag. The South lost the war. American lives, many white American lives were lost in the Civil War. This is a regressive atavistic symbol and it shouldn't be here anymore. If people want to privately still like the flag and use it for what they want to use it for, it's a free country, God bless. But she didn't say that. Saying something,
seems like splitting hairs a little bit to me.
It's like me, look, I understand. Let's take the swastika is technically a religious symbol from India.
Yep.
And I could technically decorate my house with a swastika. I could find some old artifacts from India and put them up and say, isn't this great? And when someone sees the swastikas in my house, I can say, no. It's just that it's just a coincidence that I've decorated my house with swastikas.
Symbols don't have any inherent meaning. It's only the meaning we ascribe to them, and you can change or alter the meaning of a symbol. I don't think that would necessarily be a terrible project to try to reclaim.
However, if I could just, if I then go and put swastikas all over myself and go into a synagogue and mow down a bunch of Jewish people, and then a bunch of other swastika lovers say, oh, no, she's like wrongly appropriating the swastika for that purpose. That's not really what the swastika means.
I mean, they took it down.
They took it down, and I wish that she had kind of stood by why that decision was made instead of kind of retrofitting it to appease some other audience.
Well, I think we got one more clip here to play. Whoopi Goldberg continued the discussion, saying that Nikki Haley has been asleep all this time and just woke up. Let's take a look.
You know, since you have been asleep all this time and you just woke up, you're just finding out that there are things about our country that are not perfect. And for us to pretend that it is and that nothing happened is ridiculous. So you're not saying anything new. And you, of all people, should know better, because you used to actually have some sanity and knew right from wrong. Yes. And then you lost your mind and went in some new direction. So don't do that.
I mean, that's kind of what you've been saying. Yeah, that's what's, I think, so disappointing, and why there's so much energy and anger coming out of the cast of The View here at this moment. Because, I mean, I think some part of them wanted to believe that Nikki Haley was like one of the good ones, one of the better ones, at least in the Republican Party. And it's more than that. It's that you kind of want to believe that there is enough social pressure, there are enough people in the United States who, I don't know, like my own I'm trying to say this about my own subjective beliefs, obviously, about the American flag, the Confederate flag coming through. But there, you want to believe that Nikki Haley cares enough about the diversity of opinions in her constituency that she would be more moderate in her approach. And she, in fact, was at one point when she took the flag down. And to now see her want to pander to a different kind of audience suggests that, at least by her estimation, the public opinion in America has shifted from that point in a rightward direction, which I think is unnerving. Because if even Nikki Haley is taking this kind of position, what does that mean for the state of conservatism and what I thought were kind of broadly settled feelings about a flag from the Civil War, from the side that lost, who were defending the right to enslave people?
Right. I don't get any value out of the Confederate flag. Consolation prizes for the losing side, who cares? But it seemed to me more like just acknowledging that some people feel strongly about it, and you know, maybe if we're being as charitable as possible, they don't mean anything ill by it, but because many more people feel very strongly about it and correctly identify it as a...
Nikki says we're supposed to ignore the fact that this mass shooter also appropriated the Confederate flag. She's like, don't pay attention to that. He's understanding the Confederate flag wrong. We shouldn't read anything into. There's no racism as a part of the Confederate flag.
She's trying to change what the association of it is, which is fine because symbols are just symbols, but...
No, she's trying to ignore what downplay, erase what the association with it is, because it's politically inconvenient for all of her followers who also like that same flag. That's the issue.
All right, well, we got to leave it at that. We'll have more Rising after this.